Hey people, it's March 13th, about 6 o'clock. We've had a real good week and weekend. It's Sunday evening. It's finally fixing to start to rain. So I took a hit on my main channel. I'm going to be down for another 5 days or so. So I'm going to have to put this on my backup channel. But I've done many things in my life, and not all of them was legal. It's my wide field of knowledge of legal and unlegal things that helps me to read this ancient writing. And I'm fixing to show you all the secret of how Moses got water from the stone. So we don't have a lot of stones here in South Mississippi. You know, it's mostly sand and mud and pine forest. But we do have the one type of stone that Moses extracted the water from. So this is going to be a good one. So this comes from Exodus 17, water from the rock. And it's going to come straight from the Hebrew. You really can't get this out of the interpretations. But first you have to understand, you know, why was the people so thirsty to kill us and our children and our livestock with thirst? And so the type of thirst they had was from cannabism. From cannabism. So if you ever smoked any weed, you know you get the dry mouth. You know, your body isn't all that thirsty, but your mouth is really dry. And you have the thirst from cannabism. And don't say, well, that's livestock, because it's not livestock. If you look at that word, it's the only time it's livestock, because every other time it comes down, it'll mean cane or reed or rod. The cannabism. So when you thirst from cannabism, you're ready to drink anything. You'll drink some hot beer from yesterday. So I'm going to read straight through these 7 lines, but first I'm going to hit a couple of these words that you've been brainwashed to believe you know what they mean. And you know, the first one that comes up here is Israel, and it's not. It's B. N-I reads backwards. Nilers is rule. Nilers is a word for British people who worked on the Nile. It's still used today in Africa. You know, the main one is this Yahweh. And this isn't Yahweh, this is you. And sometimes it reads backwards and forwards too, and it's have you. And this is one of the biggest ones, is this Moses. You know, if we look over here across in the Greek, we'll see the word is motion. M-O-U-S-H-N, motion. And the word that comes before it is often prose. Prose doesn't mean against. Prose, if you're pro something, you're for it. But promotion means before motion. Before you sell your product, you know, you have to promotions. Need promotion. This means motion. And you see it here the first time this word comes up. You know, so she called his name Moshe. It's just a M, a S-H, and an E. Mush. Mush is what you tell your sled dogs to make them pull. And this is just a part of a word, and most of the time it's mush. But sometimes it's the sun. It reads backwards and forwards, and it's E, the smash, S-M-S-H-E. The smash is an ancient word for the sun god. You see it here in Joshua when the sun stopped, you know, the smash. You know, anything in smash, to give smashes. The smash of smash. These are all the sun, smash. You know, also known as Utu, Shamash, Sumerian god of the sun. But you see it here in the Greek, you know, and she named his name Motion. And here it's auto-motion. Automotion, automation, come to life. And this word they call Egypt. They'll spell it several different ways, you know, but this is Mama, M-M, from its rise. It doesn't mean Egypt. It means, you know, anything from its rise, anything growing. So if you read in the book of Adam, you know, it tells a little different story about Cain and Abel. And Cain was planting his crops, and Abel, which is spelled EVL, evil in the Hebrew here, was driving his sheep through Cain's crops and eating his crops up. And so, Abel was the evil one. And so, this is what this is talking about. And this first word here is whoso, W-Y. W-Y here is ancient English for who or how. And this is S-O-W, to sow. Who sows the seed. And so this is a calling of all the growers. Who sow, the call, and then backwards and forwards, to call it to audit. To O-D-T is to audit. Whoso call it to audit in Nilers' rule, in the Nilers that was working the river at the time. Mamid brings in. Mamid. Mamid is the ancient word for a mockingbird. Mamids. Mamid brings in, backwards for B-R-N-I, ing, N-I is ing, S, brings, and the backward other way, I-N. The mockingbird brings in of messages, M-S-O-J-E-S, of messages. All hippie, this is where your word hippie comes from. It's backwards and forwards, so it's I. Anything began with a vowel, you pretty much just add an H to it. Hippie. And so P-I, pi means a circle. And so, that's where your word hippie come from, because they all stand around in a circle passing around a joint. All the hippies. Who plants the seeds called to audit in Nilers' rule. Mimid brings in messages. All the hippie, you which knew. In rapid is, in R-P-I-D is, which new and quick. Vain, empty from is, to wane or wane, W-A-I-N. When the moon is waning, it's becoming empty. The empty, the vain. Wane from is, to empty from is, list it, those. The listed, L-S-T-T, the listed. And so, on a ship, you put a list on it. You fill your ballast tanks with water if you don't have enough weight on there. And it's to keep the wind from blowing your ship over, your list. And so list is also the list of everything that you loaded up on that boat is your list. To list those. E-T-H-E-O-S, those, to list those. And so from the growers, whoso, from the growers called to do audit, in the Nilers' role, Mimid, the mockingbird brings in of messages, all the hippies, you which knew in rapid is, empty from his list is those. So, you call to audit, but, you're making this yearly trip where they will go sow seeds. And when you call to do the audit here, all your hippies are waning from the list. They're waning. They're disappearing. So this final M pronounces a S. It still means from, but when it's on the end of a word, it pronounces a S. And so it's who rev those as the smash, as the sun to yammer to. Continue annual new mission set. Who rev, who are first in, who rev, who first in those as the sun and yammer, and said to the tinue, this what we're fixing to do here on our tinue, and then backwards and forwards, UNL, Annual New Mission, MISUNSTE, and the annual of new mission set, and said, L of this mush, the men ever tribune, of this mush, of this drive, MEN, the men nev, UVIR, the men never tribune, TRIBUN, tribune. That comes from the ancient word, tribunal. It means the tribe. A tribal council is a tribunal. The tribune, like the tribus, the tribe. Of this mush, men of her tribune, of her tribe, when amid 'em men, amongst 'em the menacent, from ENUSNT, from innocent. They've never done this before. All your old hippies aren't showing up, and you're having to swear in a new group of hippies from ENUSNT, from innocent. Knows, NS, knows when to, and then have you, backwards for EVE, to have you. That's what, EVE, Eve was the woman, for you to have and to hold, Eve, to have you. Of this mush, of this drive, from in men of her tribe, when amid 'em innocent, of the new guys, knows when to have you. You know that you're going to have some new hands on this drive, because all your old hippies aren't showing up. And this is the clue that tells when this was going on. Who XMASS, who Christmas, who cross from power to consume from, who Christmas has of miss willing, who is willing to have missed Christmas. So we're going to do this drive, in December, when this drive's going on. Has all the smash, has all the sun, and said, and yammer, and said of 'em, LM, of 'em these, LMEZE, and said of 'em these, holy, EOLY, the holy Tinu, mimics rise, mimics the rise. The MT is an ancient word meaning with, and so this MX is MTS, with its, tis is it is, and from with its rise, or to mimics the rise. And so not to kill, but to limit, LEMIT, to limit it to. Anything starts with the A reads backwards, ITA, ITO, it to. The limit it to what in Bing, in what marks time, Bing, like your clock. The limit it to what in Bing, backwards and forwards, INBNI. In Bing, what in, backwards and forwards, what income, cannabism, the cannabism. So they're going out on this annual drive to go plant, to whoso, to plant, to income the cannabis. And so this tells me that at this time of the Nilers' rule, they outlawed the cannabis. And so they had to go out here in the wilderness and plant cannabis. And so this is what they call, water from the rock. It looks a whole lot more like a lit star on a Christmas tree. And if you look at this word here, this is the same one. It had two M's before, and it was the mimid, brings in. But without a tack here and just one M, it's now from DVR SIN, from diversion. And so they told Ramesses, hey, we going out to have our annual Christmas party. We're going to worship our God in the Christmas tree. But that was actually just a diversion, because they were going out here and they were sowing seeds all across. That's why not a straight line. And they went all over this area and would go sell all their crops and make their money. And every year then you could see them. Oh, then they worked their way the road back to Ramesses. It was a big loop, and it happened every year. And so you can see, the world's oldest recorded name for cannabis is Ma. Ma. It's from the caned make, QNI, the caned make, from the center seed make box, BX, Ma. From the cane box, Ma is the marking on it. Ma. Oh, Christmas, those of Miss Willin, those o least most to talk, to yammer. Those are least most to talk. Those are the ones that aren't going to talk. Of 'em, these holy tinue, from its rise, limit it to what in time, what in come, cannabisum. Wits of must leave, backwards and forwards, LAEVEU. The wits of must leave you, command me. Don't even think about it, just do what I say. You must leave your wits to my command. And I say this is command of, Homer, OAMR is ancient word for command, and this is of command. But opposite in the Greek, when you look at this, the word will be legion. Legion is the people working under you, your command. Wits of must leave you, command me. This so all as these ode from oath to squealing. You take ode from oath. You're going to say the ode, to sing the oath from the oath. Moth is little, MOTH, but from oath is a lot. That's your word, from oath, from squealing. And so los, is the people, and laos is the people in the Greek. But laos zu is the writer of the art of war, and it means the people. Zu is command, all through the Hebrew, the people's command. And this so all as these ode from oath to squealing. All these new guys, you're going to make them take the oath so they don't squeal. Nobody talks about it. And yammer, you least most overlipping has to fuck it to 'ems. Can is rule-o-matic. Raise the kite, but to rage they are. Fuck by dick will cut. And so this is the oath that they're taking. And to yammer, to say you least, most, overlipping. You're gonna say it, overlipping. Repeat after me. Has to fuck it too. And this is the same word as in wife. It'll start with this W-I, and they'll say it means, and he took his wife, wife. But this is, to the center divide, in where you wife them, to fuck it to, K-T-A, to fuck it two M-Z, the cane, the king. The cane is rule-o-matic. A rule-o-matic is ancient computer, a slide rule. I think they still use that word today as on an old slide rule. A slide rule is a rule-o-matic. It's the ancient computer. Old rule-o-matic. And so it comes from when you say automatic, the matic is actually the part that's from tick, from the clock ticks, and it does it automatically. Auto is what gives it, like I said, auto motion is what it's the self. Auto is self, and to from tick, from its own motion, from his clockworks, his rule-o-matic. And so it's automatic. The ruler tells him what to do. To raise the kite. So the kite is a raptor, a bird of prey. To raise the kite, but to rage, R-A-J, they are. And so yar, Y-A-R, means to ready. Yar. Are y'all ready to go hit this port? Yar. Rage they are. Fuck by dick will cut. And so this is the threat. Anybody that talks about this, the rage they are, fuck by dick will cut. We'll cut your junk off. So these next two lines, 6 and 7, they have this other punctuation in here. And the Hebrews don't have a clue what it is, but it's a wall. It means read all this backwards. So it's the spelling, sometimes a little funny, so to read both directions. And it'll be in both these last two lines of this poem. And this one's really difficult because it's real long. But this is Enny, E-N-N-Y. And so Enny is an ancient word meaning he who fights with the sword. Oh, dramatic. Enny. Enny amid lipping caches. Anybody amongst you, any of you toting a sword, that's lipping, that's talking about our caches where our stuff is stashed? From skin pulldom, C-N. From S-K-I-N-P-L-D-M-O, pulldom, C-N. We'll pull your skin off. The all ruts its wear. And so this doesn't say rock at all. It's backwards and forwards, and it's R-U-T-S, ruts. Ruts is the hole behind where many carriages went by, where many trucks drove through the woods. There's ruts. And then back the other way, E-T-S-W-R, it's wear. So all ruts its wear. And so sometimes you fill the ruts in with rocks. Mud don't do any good, it just washes out. But rocks, fill the ruts. All ruts is wear. Bear in, B-H-R-N. And so it's possibly talking about the rocks, but by no way does it say rocks. It's what bears in the ruts. Whack it, vexware, V-X-W-R. It's not rock. Neither one of these words is rock. It just so happens to be that the rocks might be in the ruts. But the EXUR and the BXUR, neither one of these words means rock. And then who it saw. Who it saw from Menu. And so Menu is the judge, the King Menu who died and God made him the judge on Judgment Day. And so who it saw Menu. It means, you're going to see your death. We're going to kill you if you run your mouth of the place or caches. Miss a seat those Vios con mos. Vios is to see. Vios con, is Spanish, to see with. To Vios con Dios, to see with God. But this is Vios con mus, laying. Zafini is rule. This is French for to cut finish. Zafini, to cut finish is rule. Vice to see with, must laying cut finish his role. Your death. Who forces them fuse mass? MASS, mass. To mass some rival. To bring together all the rivals in arrive, backwards and forwards, BNIRIV, in arrive, and then all this backwards again. Viral. Oh, something goes viral, it's just widespread. Viral. To see Everum 2, EVIRM2. Everum 2, the same, ESM. The same from Wifum. Them share, EM. Them SHAR. Them share few. Who forces them fuse mass. Massum rival. In arrive, viral, see, everum to the same, from wifum them share, few, bing his rule, bing, mark the time is rule, and all nests to have you command. They all nest together under you to have you command. To have you command. This you in carbon. In QRBN2. In carbon to many. MANY. Many power in. This you in carbon to many power in. Carbon is an ancient word for a copy, a carbon copy. That's what we used to do back in ancient times. We used carbon paper, and it seems like this has been going on for thousands of years, And this you in carbon to MANY, to many power in, to many in carbons, to make many copies of this. So the secret to getting water out of a stone is hidden in this oath. And there's a whole bunch of stuff hidden in this oath. To any midum lipping caches, from skinum pulled 'em, CN. And so the N has an extra N here. And so it's, NN is fish. To see in fish hole, to see in fish HOL, to see in fish hole the ruts it's where, in here in whack it, but swear. And so when you're going out to plant weed in the woods. We used to go fishing a couple months earlier, and we would take these old catfish and we'd dig a hole and put it in, and this catfish is high in nitrogen. It's excellent. It's excellent fertilizer. And so that's what this old guy's doing here. He's going out to this rut, what you would think is a dried up rut, and he go out there and whack it. And what you think is a dried up rut is actually his fishing hole. And there's water and fertilizer to grow dope in. You find a spot in this rut and pull up a fish and kill him, and that makes fertilizer. It makes food for you, and it also makes fertilizer. He goes all throughout here. These fish are all alive. They preserve themselves. Catfish is slimy, and he makes a slimy cover around his hole when the water all dries up, and they stay alive until the next rain. After the river goes down, these old fish, they'll survive there until the next rainy season when it fills up again. So everybody memorizes this oath they take, and doesn't everybody, same as those oaths that these cults are taking today, they don't even know what the oath mean until it comes time. And it's in church, it's in all those songs they sing in church, and they have no idea what they mean until it comes time for them to be awakened, and then somebody explain what it means, and then you got the song memorized. You never forget it. But to any amid lipping caches, from skin pulled them, from skin pulled them. And so you don't scale a catfish, you pull his skin off. To see, to see in fish, to see in fish, and then EHOL, to see in fish hole. The catfish, that's where you plant your weed at. Excellent fertilizer. And it's the fish hole of the ruts. It's where? Barren. The ruts are barren. All the water's gone out of the ruts, but there's still plenty of fertilizer and moisture in that hole. And so you go over there and whack it. And this isn't butts where, because it doesn't have the D. This X in plant where. It's telling you where to go plant when there's no moisture. This is where all the fertilizer and moisture is in these ruts. So now you got a better idea of why they had to change the language, because his rule of the Finnish, his rule was a very abusive type of government, and they were trying to tax everybody to death, and that's why Jesus come with his 2 fish. NN is 2 fish. You can't feed somebody if you got 1 fish. You give man a fish, he'll eat for a day, but you ain't got nothing to eat. And so you have to have 2 fish before you start to share. So in the ancient letter chart, this was the letter N, meant fish. And the N means fish or seed. And so that's what they have in common, the fish and the seed. And so if you have 2 fish, you have 2 N's. And that was the ancient sign of communal living. We share. We have 2 fish. I have one to share with you. Ancient Nazi sign, Christian sign. And it meant communism, but communism didn't have the same meaning. It meant communal. It means we're going to do what we got to survive and get rid of the abusive governments that's ruling over us. All right, I'm going to cut this off here. Good day.